Studios, brought to you by Old Mutual.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are shooting our very first live AMPD Masterclass, brought to you by Old Mutual. This is going to be so cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's the first time we're doing this. And we're actually joined by an audience. If you can just wave so people and all the chillers out there can see how beautiful you are. So that's the crowd that we have today. And yeah, by the way, we have followed all restrictions when it comes to COVID-19. We've been sanitizing, people have been maintaining social distancing, and people have been wearing masks, so that is all good. So we're going to kick things off with our first masterclass. We're going to be talking to managers. Yes, some of the dopest managers in the countries right now. Thuli is here. She manages Maphorisa, A-Reece, Shasha, the list is endless. And then we've got Sibu, who manages Questa, and then Martin, who manages the legendary Sipho, Hotstix, Mabuse. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Thuli, welcome to the show, and please tell us more about yourself.
Hi MacG, it's good to see you again. I'm Thuli Keupilwe. I'm an artist manager / booking manager. Even though we'll unpack it later, some people think it's the same thing, sometimes it's not, just depends on the kind of person that you are. I handle artists such as DJ Maphorisa, Gabs of the Small, A-Reece, DJ Sliqe, DJ Capital, Nindo the vocalist, Shasha, Tyler, I see you. Mia Pearl, yeah, just to name a few, but those are the top guys. I started in this industry 4 years ago. I started a company called Lawk Communications, where most of my artists are signed under. And I mainly handle their bookings, so bookings being the live shows, performances, and it also obviously overlaps into me doing the manager roles, which we'll obviously unpack. Yeah, that is me, Thuli Keupilwe.
Moving to Sibu, what about you? Tell us more about yourself.
Hey Max, so good to see you, and hey everyone at home and here in studio. I'm Sibu Mabena. I run a creative agency called Duma Collective, and at the collective we do PR, we do events, we do social media management and influencer campaigns, as well as creative direction, and we work really hard to kind of create an ecosystem so that this last thing that we do, which is talent management, is able to be monetized. So some of the artists that we manage, Kalo, actually I only have 7 so it's easy to remember, but I have Kalo, who's a house musician, Questa, who's a hip-hop musician, DJ PH, who's a performing DJ as well as radio DJ on Metro FM. Then I have Jessica Nkosi, who's an actress, Mutsidisi Mohono, who is a super sport anchor, and Mihlali Ndamase, who's a social media influencer, like a professional social media influencer. And lastly, I was about to say, I remember, so easy. It's gotta be so dramatic, right? So I have it's different talents, different artists that do different things, and by being an agency manager, well, an agency owner, and being able to do different things, we're able to then monetize all of the different things that our talents are able to do. So that's what we do at Duma Collective, and that's who I am as Sibu Mabena.
And lastly, Martin, what do you have to say? What can you tell us about yourself?
Hi MacG, thank you very much, and delighted to be with the two ladies here today. Very fortunate, I'm a bit older, color of my hair. Graduate from UCT in 1985, and that's where I got involved in the music business. Worn a number of hats, some of them working for big concerts, worked for Sony BMG or Sony the record company for 17 years. Very fortunate to manage one of the living legends in South Africa, Sipho Hotstix Mabuse, who's spoken at AMP Studios many times on that. Look after RJ Benjamin, who's done a lot of work on reality TV shows. Very fortunate to look after a gentleman who not many of you will know, but is most probably one of the bigger artists to come out of South Africa, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Trevor Jones, who is a film composer. Look after a poet called Sipho Jonas, who has done some very exciting work during lockdown, which we'll touch on. And then I write for a number of publications, and then I also run a music conference. But steeped in the entire ecosystem of the music industry, and delighted to be with two wonderful ladies who are going to inspire me, because the future of the music industry is about youth. Don't be afraid, and we're going to try and unpack as many things as we can today in the next hour and a half with you.
I think regardless of us being startups or upcoming, nothing beats being a professional. Whether you are the most well-known artist, nothing beats being a professional. Be on time. If anything, be early. We were meant to start at 3:30. We got here at 2:30. Because why? We take our clients seriously. We take you seriously. We take the audience seriously. And we're not doing this getting on some big world stage and getting paid gazillions of money. But because we've said yes, as soon as you have said yes and you've taken whatever you've taken from a fee perspective, you respect your client and you take them seriously and you arrive on time, because you don't understand what the ramifications of you being late are. So when you figure late and you think that, oh, it's just 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes you getting on stage means now, okay, now we're 20 minutes late. Now the show's 20 minutes late. They were supposed to finish at 12 o'clock. Now they must finish at 1. But they can't finish at 1 because Jock, the police, said, no, your party ends at 12. So which artist must get kicked off now? Now Babes Otum was there ready. I almost got put in jail. Because I put the lady on stage because she was late. But now other people were late, and it just makes this really bad cycle of unprofessionalism. People have paid to see their artists perform, but because one artist got there late, now there's a problem for everyone coming after them. So coming to meetings, sending things on time. If you said you were going to do something by Wednesday, do it by Wednesday, because you as the manager are making your artist look bad. There's a lot.
But does it frustrate you?
Where
people aren't getting back to you and...
Yes.
You mean client or you mean promoter?
Both things, client, promoter. What frustrates you?
I think the thing that frustrates me the most is when the artist doesn't get back to you when you need certain things from them, i.e. just a video saying, hi, shout out, this is DJ Maphorisa, catch me at, those kind of things actually irk me more than a client or a promoter not getting back to me. You know what I mean? Because as a brand and as DJ Maphorisa or as Cubs of the Small, you doing those small little videos or you having to be at a certain place at a specific time says so much about who you are, And if you don't arrive on time, the client is not going to take you seriously,
Do you go to the gigs and, as I call it, babysit the adults?
This is why I'm here today with this. Because I was babysitting DJ Maphorisa and I stepped off the stage and I fractured my ankle. But that's because I know the kind of person that he is, And artists, all my artists, I treat them as my kids. They are my children. I heard you say marriage, it's children, it's yonkinto, it's everything, you know what I mean? But I treat them more as my children because sometimes they really can't think twice about certain things, You have to always think ahead of them because they think of something right now and 2 seconds later it's completely different and then they get upset and then they throw their towels and then it's over, you know what I mean? But managing that goes back to the emotional intelligence that you have to have with regards to 1 minute you're fighting with them, 1 minute you're in love, 1 minute, you're fighting with the promoter just for whatever, and then you're going back to, it's a happy family because now the gig is over and everybody's, they've got the money now,
But
so
what rings true is know the person that you're working with.
Yeah.
Right, so as your artists, because artists are different. Some are literally just left-brained, super creatives, don't talk to them about anything but the music. Others are actually very analytical people who just happen to be talented and are exploiting that talent as well. So they're able to think for themselves, no, I'm on time, and they're super neat freaks. So you must know who you're working with and how to work with them. I know one of my talents has an attention span of 1 hour. After 1 hour, everything I wanted to talk to them about must be done.
30 seconds.
Decisions, contracts, sign here, do this, order. After that, it's over. Don't tell me about anything. I need to go. Another artist will take long. They want to sit and ideate and come up with things. And I'm like, yo, I need to go. I've got, So you've got to know the person that you're working with. If someone asks me for a video, right? It's either there's an artist, I must go to his house and say, here's my phone, take the video, and then I can go, I'll leave you in peace. But other people I can rely on. I say, oh, Jess, I need this. She's a girl. She gets it. So you must just know your people, and that'll make your life a lot easier, being able to deflect problems with your clients. Because your client wants to know that Somizi is the Somizi that they imagine them to be. Or Somizi, like the way they see him on TV and what he's done for other people, that's the Somizi they want to experience. Not the one that's tired, not the one that was working till 2 a.m. last night, not the one that has to go to another gig. And clients don't have time to understand that. A client wants to see Somizi the way they envisioned him to be, right? So when, as manager, you've got to find a way to make sure that you present that version of Somizi. So if the meeting is at 10, Somizi, the meeting's at 9:30. Rather, I say to him that the client is late than say to the client that Somizi's late. You understand what I mean? So know the person that you're working with, and that way you are able to make or present your client, who is your talent, as the person that the client wants to see.
You were speaking, we're all babysitters in some way or another. And I wanted to read some of the points that I was sitting when I'm working on the plane coming up here. What you really need to have, and I'm not blowing smoke, I think we all have it sitting in the room. You need to have agility as a manager. You need to be a lateral thinker, thinking beyond today, and we've all spoken about that now, thinking about next year, the year after. You need to be analytical. We've talked about being a team player. You need to be organized. You need to be deadline driven. You need to be contractually aware. And if you don't know, seek help. Assume nothing. Be risk averse. And by that I mean, don't put your artist in a precarious financial position being, oh yes, we'll do the gig and you can pay me on Monday and the gig's on Friday. Not happening. And I've experienced that. I've experienced it going to a show in Queenstown. I was the one lashing the cash. I knew it was going to go belly up, but you swallow your pride and you go and you do it. The person who was promoting the event didn't do his work. But I knew I had to go because I smelt a rat from the very beginning. It was, in inverted commas, a favor to help someone out. I saw it as a huge opportunity to do something in the Eastern Cape, and it went what they call belly up. It didn't work. It was a charity fundraising event. But I kept the artist safe. The artist performed. We swallowed our pride. We did our work, and we came home. It was a weekend away. No one got hurt, and we made the 30 or 40 people that arrived happy, because they never expected an artist like Sipho Mabuse, as an example, to be in a little town like Queenstown. And that's what I keep foremost in my mind. I've been privileged to see things in this country that 99.9% of pale faces will never see, because I've been privy to things that are just unimaginable. You know, Cyril Ramaphosa's farewell party, doing and talking about longevity, and I don't mean to hog the conversation by any manner of the mean. Lily's Leaf, do you know where Lily's Leaf is in Rivonia? It's where Mandela and a lot of people stayed and all of that, and the trial, and the famous Rivonia trial speech, Nelson Mandela's speech. And it was the anniversary, and I know Nicholas Walpe, who runs the venue, and he's friendly with Sipho, approached us to do the function. I said, with the greatest of pleasure. I'm still waiting for national government to arrive, but that's another story. Sipho and I ended up putting the thing on. Who arrived? The former president of the Republic, because he's the chairperson of Lily's Leaf, Kgalema Motlanthe. We all get personally introduced, we chat to him, the late Andrew Mhlangeni's there, and everything else. Sipho plays with a 4-piece band. It is an amazing day. It's one of those that you go, oh my heavens, I'm privileged to be there. The former president comes to me, says, Martin, please come to my house, we're going to break bread. My wife loves that song that Sipho did, can you do our wedding in 2 weeks' time?
On that note, sorry.
On that bingo, we're doing the former president's wedding, personal wedding at his house. Didn't expect it. A completely different outcome. We didn't go and splash it all over social media, kept dead quiet about it, because there's personal, there's private, and there's public. That's highly personal. Yes, Drum Magazine rolled it out later, but who knew that that opportunity would arrive by doing something? Because our intentions are good and our intentions are pure. And that's what you have to look at. The amount of photographs I've taken for people with a cell phone, turning it this way, Seeps, yeah, give it to him, he'll take it. The joy that you see in people's faces because they are stars. We are all working with stars. Everybody would go, oh wow, you're working with these legends, etc., etc. They're human beings who have feelings, who get hurt, but you see the joy that when they interact with the audience, and that's what's always in the back of our mind, because you don't know, I don't know any of you personally. You could have trauma at home, you could have all sorts of things, but you've come here seeking knowledge. We want to give that, and that's the way that I look at every single thing that I do every single day. I think that's why I've lasted this long. I'm the person at the back of the room.
It's actually maintaining the power of access, because the access to you having presidents next to you, and firstly not being starstruck, but also being able to find opportunities for your artists within that space is crucial for a manager. When you're in a space like that, you can't be like, oh my God, I need to take a picture with this person. You have to be like, okay, I'm in this space, and as a manager, what opportunities can I find within this space for my artists to either get a number for the next gig, or even taking a photo and it being on drum or whatever, that publicity, but also, yes, with the point of, certain things are private, but certain things, honestly, I feel that having the power of access, you're able to touch a lot of aspects within the artist's career, and finding those small key things is the power of which a manager is supposed to have, because you're supposed to see things that the artist doesn't see. You must be able to literally bring out the world before they even see what the world is, and yeah, so you can chat.
You bring out the world, but don't we have to celebrate our artists? It's far easier for us to shout about the artists that we've got, to bring them into the rooms. Look, sir, you really need to book them, they've done this and that, than the artist doing it. Because if the artist does that, is it not construed as ego?
No, well, sometimes the artist has more rapport with an audience than you would. So if Sipho goes up to Bab Motlanthe, that conversation will take on a completely different spin, because Bab Motlanthe is a fan compared to you as the manager coming and approaching to discuss business right now. So timing is also crucial, right? So establish that, okay, this person likes this person. So let me see how I can then work it after that conversation has taken place.
Wow, that's hectic. You guys are talking some high-level stuff here. I mean, even I can't get an invite to Cyril Ramaphosa's house. So imagine an emerging artist. But just going into that, what are some of the building blocks for emerging artists?
Can I take this?
Yes.
I wanted to take it, but you can take it.
We both will. But, so I think something very, very important that was touched on earlier, regardless of who is managing you, and I think we don't speak about this enough, you have to have an agreement in place. Contract, step one. Step one is, okay, you're going to be my manager. This is what we are agreeing to do. This is your job. This is my job. This is how we're going to split money. This is what I pay for. This is what you pay for. This is what the joint money pays for. This is how we go. This is agree. Because now when you empower your manager, after having agreed, they can go and run. They can go and say, Mina, my artist, yes, we're going to do it. They're able to make a decision for you because you've agreed to it. Ayuguti, now your manager has put themselves out there and then they've agreed to something on your behalf, but then you're going to turn around and be like, no, I don't want to do that. Now your manager starts feeling disempowered and starts feeling stupid and doesn't want to take risks on your behalf anymore. So agreement is step number one. Two, whoever you work with, and I'm speaking to artists choosing a manager, that person, the characteristics you must look for are all those things that he mentioned, but also someone who's going to hustle for you. You can't have someone who wants to be like you. Now it's someone who wanted to be an artist, but they didn't make it. They see that you're about to make it, so now they want to access the market through you because you're blowing up, right? Now this person is also taking gigs on the side, and you're like, but what are we doing here, guys? Like, are you going to work or are you going, So have that agreement. But someone who's going to hustle and work and put themselves out there and understand that the only way I eat as a manager is if you eat as an artist. So you've got to find someone who's going to hustle for you. 3, they must be someone who can be diplomatic. And I say diplomatic in that someone that can be nice, but someone that can be tough. Someone who can be respectful, but someone who doesn't take the S word. Someone who can hustle, like negotiate a little bit more for you, but knows when to stop pushing. Someone who won't lose the gig for you unnecessarily, but will also not compromise you. So as someone coming up, there's a lot of things you're going to also say yes to that you wouldn't say yes to if you were like a huge artist. Sometimes it's a charity gig, but at that charity gig, there's good media. So if there's good media, that's exposure. You know, people like to dumb down the word exposure and say, oh, you can't pay your bills in exposure. Very true. You can't pay your bills in exposure. However, you can build a career incorporating exposure. So when someone else has paid for free media, or someone else has paid for media to be there, a publicist, whatever, when you can benefit off of that media for free by virtue of being there. Now you're able to tell Daily Sun your story because they are at an event that you're performing at for free, for example. Don't be afraid to do things to learn and to expose yourselves to a bigger network. I think as emerging artists, we can take those risks. We have the time, we have the opportunity to take those kind of free deals where you'll get something else in exchange and not necessarily money.
From my perspective, as let's use Sipho Mabuse as an example, it's a really good example. And it's strange, we all read these terms nowadays, oh, you've got to take the chance, you've got to ask the question. I was at UCT, 1985, at the height of apartheid. None of you guys were born yet. And he had this massive song, Burnout, which is still so relevant today. And I wanted him for UCT radio. And I met him and we struck up a friendship. And that friendship has lasted till today. We're like husband and wife. And I think the biggest thing, you need to fight for your artist continually. And you need to stay in your lane by me stay in my lane. My skills are, and I'll run through some of the attributes which I think I have, which I think all of us have. We work incredibly hard. It's not just about the 15% that you take from the gig or the 20%. It's about the setup, it's about the booking, it's about the marketing. It's about having a vision. And sometimes the artist doesn't have that vision because they're afraid. And I'm very, very fortunate with Sipho. He understands that I'll jump into the fire before he will. And I'll give you a couple of examples later where we've got an inordinate amount of press and publicity for doing something for 200 Rand or 300 Rand. But he didn't understand the initial idea and the initial ask that we were doing. And once you were there, and you've got to keep your artists safe. That is the biggest thing. Your artist is your breadwinner. And as they get older, your audience moves with you. So Sipho's not going to be jumping around in a nightclub. It's just not him. He's turning 70 this year. But if I put together a really special dinner with some P. West Pictures who's standing behind us, and you auction them off for 1,000 Rand a pop, and they are signed by both artists, and you can have engagement at a dinner and perhaps an intimate performance, you're liable to sit and want to do that because you've had a quality experience, because your audience grows with you. So you need to understand where you position yourself as an artist. And Sipho, and I use this very liberally, is streetwise. He's worked hard. His first gig was at Orlando West. In fact, the first show that was ever booked for him is Irving Khoza. And we know where Irving is. So there's those relationships that you need to understand and respect. Many a time, someone will phone him and he'll say, no, no, no. And artists are easy touch. Because what do artists need to do continually? They need to be nice. They always need to be nice, and they're always saying yes. So then I will get deflected the phone call. Mart, please deal with this. And you have to deal with it. It's how quickly you turn that around, how respectful you are to the person on the other side, and how you negotiate. And those are skills that you learn as you go. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. You don't throw everything onto the paperwork. This is our fees, this is how we travel, this is what we want to do, this is our traveling party. Engage in a couple of emails because it's cold.
You're not understanding the nuances of how the person is speaking. You perhaps haven't spoken to them on the phone. Many a time, a lot of the negotiations start happening on WhatsApp. I can't stand that. I say to them, please, could you email me? And here's my email address, and then I will take it from there, because I then have a paper trail. Now you might sit and say, but you haven't spoken to the artist. I only tell the artist that something is happening once it is confirmed. Imagine if you're sitting around, and let's use November coming up. Let's leave COVID out of the picture for the moment. That's one of the busiest times for South African artists. We like to perform. There are a tremendous amount of shows. Hi, Seeps, I've got a quota out for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He goes, wow, I'm earning a hell of a lot of money. All of a sudden, none of those are confirmed. It puts untold pressure on you. You need to go with a result continually. You'd rather go and say, gentlemen, here's the 50% confirmation. As a manager, you transfer that immediately to the artist. That secures the promoter, whether you're the promoter or you're the promoter, the artist is going to arrive and perform. He then has a contractual duty to do that. And we can talk about that later if you want to. And you get the balance of the money prior to the performance, 7 days before the event. Sipho performs. The promoter doesn't pay. What recourse do I have as the manager? I've got 9 musicians coming screaming at me, where's the money? I go, no, it's coming. Well, how long is a piece of string? How long are you going to be strung along? You have no bargaining power. And that's the basis at the end of the day, what the manager needs to do. He needs to keep your artist safe. I ask for the balance 10 days prior to the event. I manage Sipho out of Cape Town. A lot of people don't know that. It's done over emails, it's done over calls. I understand him, I understand how things work. I stay in Pimville all the time that I come up here. It's my home, my second home. And I understand those workings, but you're keeping the artist safe, because the moment that gigs happened, you're EFTing the money to everybody. And I think if we walk out of here today with those life lessons, that it's key to get the money. It is a business. And I brought some notes, and I'm going to keep quiet after that. There's an artist, David Bowie, who Dr. Trevor Jones, who I mentioned earlier, has worked with. And this sums it up. Make it your business to understand the business that you are in. That's the bottom line. And the other wonderful quote that I've used many, many a time is from Dr. Trevor Jones: prepare or prepare to fail. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning to come here. I've got 2 hours of notes here. I'm petrified because I want to give you the right amount of information. I'm petrified with these ladies because I want to do the best job possible so that you walk out with the tools that can amplify your music career. You're all going to need managers because you cannot do it yourself. The music business is all about collaboration. We've already struck up a deal inside there. I'm in Cape Town. I'm going to be the go-between or to guide them who to speak to. It's a different world. It's 2 hours away. How do you get to Kirstenbosch to do shows? What do you need to do, etc.? So that for me, in a nutshell, is what a manager does. Keeps the artist safe and looks after him every step of the way. It is a marriage. It is 24/7. And if you don't like the music of that particular artist, don't get involved. You've got to actually enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
If you enjoy what you do, it's not a work. I don't know.
Just to tail that, I think artist management it's not as glamorous as saying, oh, I manage so-and-so, because after you've announced it, the real hard work begins, because now when so-and-so is not making money, people are looking at you, Miss Manager, to say how, but aren't you supposed to be managing the business? So there's so much work that goes into it, and to speak on expanding a career and having it span over a lifetime, I would suppose. I think there's also other things that you look at beyond what the artist does when you meet them. As a human being, you are so multifaceted. I look at Somizi, who is a multi-talented media personality. Today he's cooking, tomorrow he's emceeing, the next day he's choreographing, the next day he's doing books, the next day he's got a shoe deal, the next day he's on a billboard. There's so many different things that an artist can do and so many different things you can monetize.
Now do you drive those ideas?
You have to. You've got to see sometimes you look at your artist and you see something they don't see in themselves. And you say, Mara Somizi, did you know that, have you thought about this and this and this a thing? You go and you do your nails every day and you're spending 600 Rand. What about going into a production line that produces these things that you're doing? I'm not saying that's what he's going to be doing, but if you look at someone and you're able to see what they do and their habits and their behaviors and their likes and their passions, and you're able to turn that into something you can monetize, that's one of the other roles of being a manager, being able to strategize, being able to build assets for these artists so that they can monetize things beyond what you met them doing. So if tomorrow the artist that you're managing who's a singer loses their voice, are you done working with them? I say, sorry, what we met about is now finished. What about all the other things they can possibly do? So I think when you start engaging someone that you're going to be working with as an artist or as a manager, start to look at what else can we do beyond what I'm doing right now, because life is long. Not everybody's going to be as fortunate as a Prasipo, who one song has made him so much money over so many years. There are some people who just have to work 6-7 times as hard to be able to monetize many different things. I think also artists who fall into like legendary status, they still have to work crazy hard in their 70s. Going to shows, traveling, up and down, you're on the road. That's not easy stuff to do. So do you want to be the artist that is 80 years old going to 50 gigs in a month? Or do you want to be someone who's able to look like an Yvonne Chaka Chaka and say, oh, I've got this foundation running, it's doing all these good things. I've got this business that I have interest in. I sit on a board of this company. I do this for the UN. All of these different things that she can do that don't require her to be on stage only. So those are the things that you've got to start thinking about. Imagine now in the beginning of your career or in the beginning of your engagement with someone to say, where are we going? What can we possibly see? And don't also think of your time in that person's life now. Because sometimes we like to say, it's only going to benefit me now, so let's do this now. Think beyond. What is your legacy going to be with this person? Maybe your retirement plan is not the artist. But what can you go?
I wanted to touch base. I wanted us to track back a bit because I think we're talking on a very high level. I think with up and coming artists, you guys always want to go for the manager that is already, profound, or the person that, I want to go to a Sibu Mabena and I want her to manage me. Sometimes the manager that you're really looking for is the person sitting next to you. Or sometimes the person that you're looking for is your friend or your cousin or your, someone that's close by. If that person that you're trying to find can just be hardworking, right? Can have a vision and understand your vision and try and push your vision for you, I don't think what they've said right now is a difficult concept, because at the end of the day, we are learning. I learn every day. Like every single day when I wake up, Maphorisa is calling me to find out something new that I probably don't even know. During Corona, I had to find out what is publishing and who do I speak to with regards to publishing. Who do I speak to when I have to go to SAMRO or SAMPRA or,
sync deals.
Sync deals. I just got a sync deal for Maphorisa. It was my first sync deal. I've never done a sync deal in my life, I had to go and find out how do you cost this? How do you do all these things? But it's a matter of having somebody that can honestly and truly speaking fight for you no matter what the situation, whatever situation may arise. Because at the end of the day, you are trying to envision or rather bring to life the idea or the concepts or the creative that the artist has. Because at the end of the day, artists are creatives. They, honestly and truly speaking, don't know the business, and
it's not their role to understand the business.
They really don't understand the business.
Just like it's not your role to sing.
Exactly.
Correct. I get told stay in my lane, so I stay in my lane.
100%. I don't know what keys are and chords are and the amp and the lock drum and the this. I don't know any of that. Don't put me in studio. But put me in a boardroom or put me in a meeting where I need to fight for you. I'll fight for you. And that's really what a manager needs to do. They need to protect you, they need to keep you safe, and they need to fight for you no matter what.
So let me ask this. At what point what you think is right versus what the artist thinks is right clash, and how do you then navigate the decision making as a manager?
You speak of examples, and you look at the artist, what he's doing. I just wanted to go back about like Somisi doing nails and books and everything else. I've also got a unique advantage. Sipho Mabuse went back and did matric at 60. Now that's a huge thing. I've positioned him regarding going and speaking about adult basic education. There's 2 companies that have utilized it. One was a big mining company up on the Platinum Belt, and we went and everything else, and my request was we go down to the mine, so we went down at 4 a.m. to go and see what mine working is all about. We were supposed to speak for an hour, we were there for the whole day. But the inspiration that you got by putting your artist there in front of people so you can touch, feel and talk is insurmountable. Now, I understood that vision. The artist got a fee, and you can have your normal fee for performance, it's X. I said, fine, we'll do it for Y, because that's how the artist earns. Again, going and back and keeping them safe. And talking about what Thuli was saying earlier, there's one of the points that I made here earlier with you're looking for a manager. It might be your best friend, but write down a piece of paper. Hi, Martin, I'm the artist. I'm going to hire Thuli as my manager, and we're going to try for 90 days. And you're going to get 15% of the work that you bring in over that time. These are my fees and these are my structure. Try it. Because what is the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work out, but you've tried, and your friend has learnt points and you have learnt points. Because you as an artist also need to know what you want. What are your goals for the year? When you wake up on the 1st of January, what are your goals that you're planning for 2022, 2023, etc.? How are you going to write that song? How are you going to collaborate? How are you going to get to Maphorisa? You're not going to see him at a bar and ask him, hi, I'm a starting out artist. I want to present and I want to sing with you. You're going to find the manager. He's probably going to laugh at you, but he won't. He'll smile and let you take the selfie, and you'll go, look who I was with at the weekend. That's not business. Business is done by finding the manager, by finding the agent. And the really good managers and really good agents are the ones who are just quietly in the background doing their work. That's what it is about. And if you can find that balance, you're then well on your way to making a success, because it's an incredibly hard industry. If you think this is 9 to 5, then you might as well leave and walk out the door, because that email can come in at 9:20 where they spell Mabuse with a Z-A when it's an S-E. I don't freak out. I reply in the morning, I just change it, S-E. Dear sir, thank you so much for the request. Please note the spelling error is incorrect. And then you quote, how do you want to engage? I made that mistake with a musician called Nile Rodgers, and you know the name, who he is. I left out the D. The manager hit the roof in New York. And you must remember, this is a global game. When you're on the internet, you're the center of the universe. And that's the way I look at it. I try and position myself to what would the Americans do, what would the Europeans do. We were talking earlier off air. I learned so much in Germany. I also learned so much in Germany. When they say it's 4 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock. It's not you arriving and plugging in. There's no such thing as African time. It doesn't exist.
There's no African watch.
It doesn't exist. I toured there in 1989 with Don Laka, Jimmy Mgwandi, musicians who are seriously established now. We arrived at 4 o'clock. The sound check was at 4 o'clock. By 5 o'clock, they were ready to start. The sound was off. We start at 4, not 5. They were never ever late again. Never. Prepare or prepare to fail. Sipho Jonas, a poet, master's graduate out of Queenstown, performed at a conference that I run called Music Exchange. 2 months ago, someone found her on Facebook, an ad agency. Can you do this thing, etc., etc.? There's no money. She passed it over to me. I wrote a long letter to the ad agency with a short, what's called a one-pager. And I think this is where we will touch on as well, how you present yourself to people like this to get interested to be managed. A one-pager on what she'd done, what she'd worked on. We'd love to do the work. Unfortunately, during these pandemic times, this is how artists eat. Her normal fee, and this is gospel, is 15,000 Rand for what you're wanting. We are happy to do it for half that price because we understand, and at short notice, they said, we've only got X amount, 4,000 Rand. I said, thank you very much, and we took it. We were paid the next day. A deal was done. What does that turn out? The agency respected us. They were open and honest and said, we've only got this amount of money. They expected the craft. We got paid. The event only ran 3 or 4 weeks later, but Sipho Kazi was able to pay some bills. And they were happy for her to do some previous work that she'd done that is available on YouTube. So build a story, and we'll touch on it later. Have what's called a one-pager. Who you are, what you are about, what makes you unique. Have your YouTube links. If you've got stuff out on the streaming platforms, put those links in there. And the question I want to throw up, are we going to work or is it a job? What are we doing?
I'm going to work.
I'm going to work. I think you're going to work as well. It's not a job, it's work. And if artists understand that, they stand a chance of being successful. DJ Maphorisa is maybe earning 50,000 Rand, say for example for a show. Hotstix is earning say 100,000 Rand for a show. We put in the same amount of work as we would with the 15,000 Rand show. The time, the contract and everything else. We getting 15% or 20%, whichever you negotiate initially. Where are you going to put your time and effort in? The one that's obviously paying more. But you can get there by presenting yourself properly, because there has to be a new DJ Maphorisa, there needs to be a new RJ Benjamin, there needs to be a new Sipho Mabuse coming through. They can't go on forever. We're always looking out for talent, and take the opportunity to network. Have that business card ready. When the door opens, you have to be ready to step through that door. It's as simple as just having a business card ready. Here's my Twitter details, here's my website. Look around WordPress.com. You can make a short one-pager with a couple of pictures. Set up a Facebook page. Set up Twitter. Set up Instagram. What is private stays private, with your dog and your cat and your love of Kaizer Chiefs or Orlando Pirates. Have a fan page where you engage. Keep putting out stories on a daily basis.
Can I touch on the exposure, please? Like I said,
was I right to do that type of negotiation with a client like that? I got a win for my artist.
120%. Even if they paid you 10 Rand, the exposure to that is everything, you know. For me, I wanted to just touch on exposure based on the fact of how you guys, you know how artists are, they always want to go to gigs, they want to get paid for gigs, they always want to just be at the top all the time, and sometimes it's really not like that, you know. Especially as an up-and-coming artist, in order to get that exposure, you need to go to those gigs. You need to go find a Thuli who's standing behind DJ Maphorisa, or who's standing behind Shimza, who's standing behind PH or whoever, because half the time they're really there, and actually get their number. Because half the time, as much as you may be scared to speak to the artist, the manager's there for a reason. It's not, maybe not the manager, maybe it's the road manager, it can be anybody, but someone that's part of the team. How I started in this game, let me just quickly track back, is that I approached DJ Maphorisa at an event. You know, I approached him and I said, look, you're so cool. You know, a fan moment. I think you're so cool. I think one day we're gonna work together. That's what I said to him. And he thought I was joking. He thought I was cuckoo in the brain, right? A couple of years later, I get a phone call from him and saying, dude, I remember 1, 2, 3, 4, can we work? And at the time, he was doing like a festival or something like that. And he needed me to help him with something, you know? I believe that as an artist, certain things you put forward before you even think you're gonna need it, you know? A moment of you just coming to me and speaking to me and saying, Thuli, I'm this person and I do 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my social media platform. You might not be serious about me right now, but one day you're gonna notice me. You know, moments like that start a process in your mind that allows you to become great. Because if you as an artist do not believe in yourself, your manager's not gonna believe in you at all. You know, if they don't believe in you, if your manager doesn't believe in you, you guys are not gonna go to the next level. You know, so you guys need to find it in your spirit, in your soul, in your everything, you know, planning ahead, but without not even realizing that you're planning. I don't know if I'm making sense. Planning ahead without even realizing that you're planning ahead, right? Let me go back to exposure. Small things like going to an event, speaking to the promoter and saying, look, dog, you don't know me. I'm this guy. I've been coming to your shows. Please, can you, you know, next time, just one song type thing. The promoter's gonna say to you no, maybe 10 times. But the 11th time, he's gonna say yes because you know what? DJ Maphorisa arrived late and he needs to fill that 10-minute space, and that is your opportunity, right? You get booked, that one, okay, he doesn't pay you, it's the exposure, right? You just want that platform to speak to people or sing to people or rap to people or whatever the case may be in that 10-minute slot because DJ Maphorisa is late. But that 10 minutes, if you think about it, how many promoters are in the crowd watching you at that moment?
And also with the cell phone, a smartphone, get someone to capture that 10 minutes for you and rinse that 10 minutes and use it for every other promoter and say, 100%. Look at these people screaming my name.
That's what I do for Daliwanga. Daliwanga, people know Daliwanga's voice. They don't know his face, right? They know his songs. They don't know his face. So when I'm trying to sell Daliwanga, they're like, who's Daliwanga? Then I sing the song to the promoter. I literally sing the song like Friends with Benefit. I'm there trying to sing it. And the promoter's like, I don't know this guy, right? But the road manager is there taking a video of him when girls are screaming for him or whatever the case may be. And I say, no, this is Daliwanga. And the minute I send that video, it's like,
say
oh,
no
get
more.
the man, all right, okay.
Yeah.
We're booking him. Just because of the fact that we're in a crowd, he was in a crowd and he was singing and people were going crazy over him. That exposure, that 10-minute video that we had is now getting him the next gig. And even if it's not paying him his full fee and it's paying him half the amount or maybe even nothing, it's putting him on because there's how many promoters in the crowd? You don't know. They could be 10, they could be 15, they could be 100 promoters. Everybody in that crowd could be a promoter for all we know, you know? And that exposure is for me the most crucial part because artists actually make most of their money from live shows. So if you're building your rapport in terms of going to gigs and getting gigs and people seeing you and actually getting paid for it, that money comes to you. Yes, I'm taking my 10%, I'm taking my 15%, but the rest of the money goes to you. And that money, most importantly, you guys actually need to use that money to put it back into yourselves. You know, that's the most important. You need to invest in yourself because if you don't invest in yourself, who do you expect to invest in you? You know, so those are like, sorry, this is, I'm even like going off on a tangent, but those are important things that you guys need to understand is that exposure is
It's a very valuable thing.
It's the most amazing thing in the world because all artists started like that.
Yeah.
There's a picture of DJ Maphorisa when he was playing in his garage and, you know, he was, you know, no one really cared who he was. And look where he is now because he played at weddings and he played at this and he did that for free.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's even like TV platforms, right? Someone gets invited to a TV show. Big artists get invited to TV shows. They're not necessarily getting paid for an interview on a Channel O show, but they understand that there are 400,000 people watching this show. So I'm going to take my time out on a Wednesday and get there at 8 o'clock for that call time and put on makeup and perform like it's a Friday night and I've got all the energy in the world. Because of the 400,000 people watching, one of them is a brand manager, one of them owns an event, another person is a booking agent, another person is in the country from America and they've turned it on in the hotel and they're like, oh, who's this guy? So exposure, if it is the right exposure and you're not being exploited, can be used as such a powerful tool to turn your career into something bigger. And as a manager, also, when I said hustle, you must also go and get exposure. go and be exposed to what's going on in the world, right? So when Thuli says go to a show, sometimes you can pay for yourself to get into a show. You don't know who you're going to meet there. The first event I ever worked on, I bought the ticket to work at that event. It's called Masters of Rhythm. From Masters of Rhythm, I met a team, and from there, I was able to work on a show called Street Cred. But that guy that I was working with, we worked on an event for a big brand, and we ended up doing the Kendrick Lamar tour. From the Kendrick Lamar tour, the guy who was the brand manager for the sponsor of that tour was now moved to MTV. And he was like, hey man, I remember this girl who does this thing. Now he calls me to come and do a job at MTV. Now I'm working for MTV. For MTV, I'm doing the MTV Awards. All from paying for one ticket to go to Masters of Rhythm so I could pester the promoter to say, let me work for you. Exposure.
I used to put up posters for big concerts. I can tell you one man can do 250 posters in a night in a city with glue and paste, and what glue you need to do. Then I ended up working and doing the PR, etc. But I wanted to go back to exposure. What happened earlier this year in Cape Town in February, there's an artist called Yo-Yo Ma. I don't know if any of you know him. So it's probably the most famous violinist player in the world, about exposure. Zolani from Freshly Ground was doing an event, and she wanted some poetry and real stories, and they put Sipho Jonas forward, and we got a small honorarium and fee. I was there faster than I could run with my broken leg, sitting in the front with a camera. Sipho performed. This is a violinist player who's opened for Barack Obama. Just Google the name. He is Grammy Award winner par excellence. Sipho performed with him one piece, a moving poetry piece. The photos and the embrace and the hug afterwards are so real. I just happened to be sitting right in front with my cell phone, click, 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 click. I left Sipho and Yo-Yo Ma to talk because they were talking on an artistic level. I meandered around and found the manager. Got his card. 2 weeks later, he performed at Kirstenbosch. There were, I think, 6,500 people with one man with a violin on stage playing the Bach suites. One man at 600 or 700 Rand a ticket, etc. Now we needed to write a thank you note. So what did Sipho do? She took one of his composed works that he'd done, and she put a poetry piece over it and sent it as a blocked out YouTube link for the management to look at and see. That is being creative, being clever, as opposed to just writing a thank you note. Look what that ticket did, because you never know what's going to open the doors. It's taken me 10 years to get onto the stage because of that man sitting over there, John Savage. Because people are watching you all the time. You never know who's watching you in the room. And that's what I think drives all of us. I've got huge respect for these ladies. We formed a WhatsApp group. Oh, I want to look to ideas that you've got. No. We're here to share. We're here to find the next set of people that we're working with.
And that's a very big point. There aren't a lot of managers in this country. And it's not something you can go to the University of Joburg and apply to study, right? I want to study a course in talent management. But what you can do is read. What you can do is research. Guys, the World Wide Web is so accessible and has every piece of information you can imagine. You could Google how to be an artist manager. Of course, the information is not going to come to you in a tweet. And step 1, step 2, step 3. But if you were to sit and read through all the things that come up and decipher what makes sense to you, what makes sense to your environment, what makes sense to the type of artist that you're working with, you could come up with so much information. So we sit here and we sound like we know it all, but we only know what we've experienced. And there's still so much that we still go out and research. Publishing, licensing, syncing. What's the difference between an ISRC code for distribution? What's a DSP? All of these answers I got from Googling and asking and trying to collate it all into one single thing that's going to make sense for what I need to do. You cannot be lazy as a manager. You've got to be creative. You've got to be admin orientated, and you must just be an all saver basically. And there's no easy step-by-step guide onto how to be a manager. But what you have to know how to do is figure it out.
Reading. Let me give you what I read every single day. It's free. You've all got smartphones. The Billboard Daily, which is the music Bible in America, and no matter what anybody says, America controls the music universe. There's a book
written by a gentleman called Alan B. Kruger, spelled Krueger. He was Barack Obama's advisor, called Rockonomics. It's about 300 and something rand. If you can't afford it, club together and get it and share it. It is eye-wateringly brilliant. There's a gentleman by the name of Bob Leftset, Lefsetz. He publishes a blog on a daily basis, covers everything from politics to artists, and some are good, some are bad. And there's another thing called Music Business Worldwide. It's all about the business of music. They come into your inbox on a daily basis, read them, look at them.
Another book, Artist Management by Paul Allen. That is my Bible. Like, when I'm not sure, I open that book and it explains and I understand and we move. So, yeah.
And since we're talking about reading, the South African Music Business, brilliant book. It just explains things in basic South African English. Okay, so there's information out there. It is so accessible. And I think a lot of us struggle with, oh, but I don't know how to do this. Or the biggest one, where do I start? Ask the question. Where do you ask the question? Google is your friend.
Wow, this is really great. So far, so good. So I'm thinking, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and see if we can take some questions from, anyone from our audience here. So, yeah, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
AMP Studios brought to you by Old Mutual.
Making a nyugu these days, go rough. Just ask that guy. So that's why you need Old Mutual rewards. They're lifing. See, these guys actually reward you for being ukleva ngenyuki yakho. Anybody can join, and it's free. It's my son's birthday tomorrow, so let's earn some points. Now turn my points into cash, and they send a voucher. Then just shop, show, and scan.
The time is now. Sign up for free to Old Mutual Rewards today.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm also Sam.
Meet my little Sam. Only the best for my son.
Sam! I'm Sam!
This is Sam, live. I'm Sam.
No two people are the same, so why should their cover be? New personal cover from Old Mutual lets you build the cover that's right for you and your budget. And it's easy to change as your life does too. The time is now to get personal cover that's just for you. Speak to your financial advisor today.
AMP Studios brought to you by Old Mutual.
Welcome back. We're live coming at you from Newtown for the AMPD Masterclass. And I think it'll be dope to get some questions from the audience right now. So, yeah, let's start the Q&A.
Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Chabalala. I want to ask, what are the challenges of working with a new artist? Because these days, new artists, when they sign deals, they sign wrong deals like 360, like when they sign maybe in the independent label. So they got many challenges. So I want to know, as a manager, where can you involve to help them to sign the right deal? Because a lot of the artists are escaping the independent label these days because they don't know how to read contract. Maybe you'll ask for a lawyer to help them, to assist them with a contract to sign the right deal. Especially when the things deal, artists most of these days, they're getting robbed. Maybe a brand approach them when they want a deal, or they are brand ambassador of a brand. When they do endorsement deal, they're getting robbed most of the time. So I want to know how can you involve to help artists to sign a right deal?
I think the best thing to do in a situation when you're an up-and-coming artist is to find consultants that are lawyers, right? That can consult for you, but entertainment consultants. For me, there's Katlao Malachi, right? He obviously handles a lot of big clients in the industry, but he's the same person that is willing to help a guy that is up and coming. You know what I mean? He might not charge you the same price that he's charging Maphorisa, but that 200 Rand or that 100 Rand that he's charging you just to look over that contract and make you understand that contract is something that you as an artist need to invest in yourself, so that you make sure that you don't get screwed over by I won't mention names, but the top guys, you know what I mean? Also, Google. Google's your friend, eh? Sometimes if you don't understand a word, you Google it, you know? Read through it, Google it. If you feel as though there's certain things that even Google can't explain to you, the person that sent you that contract, you must ask them, what did you mean by this? You know what I mean? What does this specific thing mean? Because if they don't break it down for you to understand, then maybe it's not a contract that you should be signing.
So just to add to that, I think you touched on record deals and then brand deals.
And a 360 deal.
Yeah, so a 360 in a record label deal, right? So as the manager, I can tell you your job is to protect the interests of the artist. You're not the one signing to the record label, but your artist is. And because your agreement, what did I say in the beginning? Have an agreement with your artist. If your agreement with your artist states that where you go, I go. Because for that record label to be interested in you, it's because of all the work that I've put in. So where you go, I go. Make sure you're putting that into that contract. Which the artist comes with business manager already, because the record label is coming to handle all the music business so that you can also take on the brand deals. But in these 360 deals, then your deal with your artist becomes a completely different conversation to say, whatever you're getting from the record label, I'm getting a piece of that. I think it goes back to what? The agreement that you had in the beginning. So when you're now going through this contract, line by line, I've sat through a 40-page contract for a television show for an actress. I've never understood, I didn't know what happens in TV making until I went through that contract. And I said, Jessica, these are the things that you guys said. Okay, cool. What does this mean? Then we ask a lawyer. Okay, what about this? Do you agree to this? So that tomorrow, if you're disputing it, you are disputing something you understood. So as the manager, it's your job to make sure your artist understands what they're signing. And if you don't understand it, go and seek help. And seeking help doesn't mean only going to Katlego Malachi. I mean, he's going to kill you for saying he'll do it for 100 rand.
Yeah,
but there's legal aid. We see adverts during Generations every day about legal aid, the red and black guys. You can go and seek advice there. You can go and seek, again, advice on Google. Ask a teacher. Go to a student studying law. Go to the law faculty at a university. There are so many...
Come to AMP Studios.
Come to AMP Studios.
Speak to people here.
There are so many options for information.
That's why this place exists, for exactly that question. Let's cut straight to the chase. Not being rude. What is your understanding of a 360 deal? I take your toenail, your shoe, your hat, and a piece of your hair. I take everything. It's a little bit of the publishing, the record company, the live performance, the merchandising for the t-shirts.
The brand deals.
You can go, there are so many places you can go to find out about the 360 deal. But I think we're jumping ahead of ourselves. You need product to present to the record company. That's why they're signing you. And I want to throw out another question. And I know this is supposed to be a Q&A. Why do you want a record company? Can't you do it yourself? And you can. You've got all the skill set available here, and there are apps, there are companies like CD Baby that you can upload your music to yourself. I mentioned bands that I'm listening to. There's a band called Osmosis. It's a drummer called Omar Hakim, who's played on every record imaginable, including Daft Punk, David Bowie, Sting, etc., etc. His wife is Rachel Z, a 2-time Grammy Award winner. They're on the way to being nominated for a Grammy. This is a super group, jazz group. A guy called Kurt Rosenwinkel on guitar. They released the entire thing themselves on CD Baby. Now, these are people at the top of their game on a global scale. Released it all on CD
drops
Baby.
His music via CD Baby, just by the way. And you guys, there's a lot of people that think he's the superstar, but he's the same guy that drops his music on CD Baby. So it's not a difficult thing for an artist to do. You can actually do it on your own.
But I will say, things to look out for in a contract as a manager if you are going to consider any deal. The term, which is the time span of this deal. Very important. And if you see a word that says perpetuity, run for your life. Because perpetuity means
forever and ever.
So with anything in life, put a time limit to it. Even our lives don't continue in perpetuity. So always dispute that. Obligations. What are your obligations or what are you promising over to those people? What are your deliverables? What are they saying you're going to owe them? And then what are they giving you in return? I think for me, those are the three things I look out for. What is the term? What are my obligations? And what am I getting in return? Because if I can just understand that fundamentally, then I'm able to start reading between the lines and say, okay, but what is this? This is the deal, and then everything else. Things like exclusivity for brand deals. The exclusivity must have a term as well. Now you're doing something for a soap, and then they say for the next 3 years you can only use this soap, or you can only be seen to be marketing this soap, but they're only paying you for 1 year because that's the term. Be very careful of things like that. So those are the things I think you should look out for, but also consult, legal aid, Google, understand, make it make sense to your artist. Then if you decide to sign, make sure that your artist is signing something they get.
And can I add, when money changes hands, someone wants a piece of that action. Remember, if a record company, and you get to sign to a record company, and they pay for the recording, that studio time, let's use an arbitrary figure of 1,000 Rand or whatever. Recordings cost way more than that. They'll own that master right. When you go in and do songwriting, you and me want to write a song together. Before you start fiddling in the studio, have what's called a split sheet and a deal sheet. It's as important as the word perpetuity. There's 3 of us, it's 33 1/3. No discussion. We're all contributing equally. You might find 2 days down the line, I spent 2 days picking my nose and not contributing anything towards the song. There's nothing you can do, but you just realize the next time around you're not going to use Martin. The 2 of you are going to work together. Because what happens if that song explodes and suddenly becomes a hit? Suddenly DJ Maphorisa picks it up, or Somisi decides to use it on his Eat Out show because he heard it at a party, and things like that can happen. Suddenly there's 100, 200, 300, maybe more, 1,000 spins or whatever, and you've got nothing in place.
It goes back to what? Agreements.
Agreements. Vital, vital, vital to do that. I cannot stress it more.
Oh, greetings to everybody. My name is Israel Chabalala, and I'm an artist. My stage name is Easy. So my question will be a bit personal. I recently lost an audition for a gig, and yeah, it left me hopeless. Like, yeah, I was undecided when it comes to music. So what I want to know is that along your music career, how were you able to deal with your losses, like not getting gigs and all that stuff?
So I can speak on my experience. Obviously, I'm not a musician, but I am a deal broker. I'm always pitching something. Either I'm pitching an artist or I'm pitching my agency to get work. I'm always competing with people. I actually used to be a dancer. I competed in competitions. And I used to say to the teams that I used to coach that if you don't win today, it's because there were just 5 people who were judging and they decided that they liked the other person, not you. But tomorrow could be your turn, because then the other person that they liked yesterday, you might be the person that is winning against them. So sometimes I think we internalize no's and make it so personal. We would say, when they're saying no to what I've done, they're saying no to me as a human being. And that no is a reflection of my talent or what I'm able to do. I think a no on that day must just be accepted as it's a no for that day. Maybe it's going to be a yes tomorrow. And everybody goes through this in life, from pastor to teacher. Sometimes the teacher can be teaching a lesson and the students just don't get it. And that student, on that day, she thought she was really doing the things. The test comes out and people are failing. 3 out of 10, 2 out of 5. And do you think they're going to give up and resign from being teachers because they've been studying for 5 years, but on that one day, the students got 5 out of 10? No, they must just go back and evaluate and say, okay, cool. Maybe there's something I didn't do right. Let me try again. Because as much as life is short, life is long. Life is so long. So if you're going to decide to give up today on the 24th of October, what about the 25th of October and this time next year and this time in 5 years' time? If you give up today, you are taking away an opportunity for you to succeed next year and the year after that. So as much as a no can paralyze you, yes, it's sad, like we are humans. A no is sad. It's like breaking up with someone. I'm not feeling this anymore. Of course you're going to be sad. It doesn't matter if you had side chicks or side boyfriends. You're still going to be sad because you got dumped. But at the end of the day, tomorrow you dust yourself off, you pick up and you try again. We've said try again. People say that because it's true. If you don't make it today, tomorrow might be the day you do.
Sometimes no is just means not now.
Yeah.
Just wait, you know? Go and move on. Go to the next thing. Don't be paralyzed by what happened yesterday. If I had to tell you what happened to me yesterday, technically I'm not supposed to be here right now.
And last week.
And last week. And 6 weeks ago.
And 6 weeks ago.
You know what I mean? But I have to keep going. It just means not now. It's just not my time right now. I need to keep going. Keep moving. That's it.
Yeah. And what's yours won't miss you. If you can believe that, that makes dealing with all the no's so much easier. Actually, this thing was not for me. It was lamli te I. So if you can just believe that what is for you will meet you, it'll make dealing with all the things that are not for you so much easier.
Can I ask you a question? You're wearing a Spurs face mask, Tottenham Hotspurs. Do you support them? You're a Liverpool fan, but you're wearing a Spurs thing. I support Tottenham Hotspurs. Why don't you go and think of writing a song? What language do you speak, with all due respect? Your home language, your native tongue?
Sir,
Sorry?
I'm Tsonga, but yes.
So why haven't you taken, and I'm using Spurs as an example, written a song, a theme song for them in Tsonga, sent it to the marketing team at Tottenham Hotspurs. Hi, I'm a supporter in South Africa. We have X amount of people. Can we make this a theme song for Africa or something like that? But you like Liverpool, so why don't you do it for Liverpool? There are millions of supporters in this country. I want to write a theme tune in South Africa in one of the 11 indigenous languages, but I'm fluent in Tsonga. I'm going to write that and send it to them. What have you got to lose?
Nothing, sir.
So that's taken away your horror from losing that gig.
Yeah.
So set yourself goals, and in the next week, 6 weeks, do it and come and speak to us, and let's see where it goes.
But you're
Write
probably
a song,
wondering,
produce something, do something. It's how you get up.
and you're wondering how you're going to get a hold of Liverpool. Can I give you guys a life hack? Google, first place. If you search marketing manager of, lots of things will come up. Take the names that you find, shortlist them. Go on to LinkedIn. Go and search on LinkedIn. And a lot of people have put their job titles under their descriptions. So if it says marketing manager of Unilever, search it on LinkedIn, their name will come up, and then you match it to what you found on Google. Then go and search what is the email address, the contact email address of that company. So it's usually like contact@unilever.com. Now you've got the @unilever.com sorted. Take those names that you found on LinkedIn, right? I'm sure you've shortlisted Uguti, X Shabalala is the marketing manager. Now you start playing around with email addresses and say x.shabalala@Unilever, x.shabalala@Unilever, shabalala@Unilever. Eventually, different variations. What do you have to lose but time? Eventually, one of them will be right. Keep sending out that email. You'll be shocked at what could come back in terms of a response. I have someone that I know who did that, contacting Elon Musk. Today, he's the supplier for Tesla in this country from doing that.
That's how I got to the band Osmosis. I found them on Twitter. Are you all on Twitter? Get on Twitter. Why? Because Twitter in chief in America is the president called Donald Trump. All Americans work on Twitter, and they reply. I'm best friends with a 2-time Grammy Award winner because of Twitter. She's on my phone, and it's not bragging. It's exactly that, searching out. And when I was ready, I had my one-pager, what the ask was, what I wanted to do, and I'm 56, doing exactly what was spoken about now. And that's what you must do, sir, because you've got nothing to lose. Sipho Jonas, the poet, put her online play, We Are Dying Here, online on the Ticket Pro platform. It ended up being picked up by New York Time Out magazine as the #1 show in the world to watch over specific dates. We Are Dying Here. Gender-based violence exploded. And I EFT'd her at the end of the run, 40,000 Rand. So don't tell me it can't be done. We are living proof that things can be done if you set your mind to it. There was a little luck involved. There was a lot of hard work, good press releases, good stories. And what had she done? At the Joburg Theatre, she just happened to film the show. So now that we're going into the streaming reality and it's going to continue for a very long time, film all your work. 2-minute stories, 1-minute stories, film what you are doing, capture everything. Set up your own YouTube channel, just keep loading your stuff up there, because when the call comes, have a look at my work. Oh my heavens, you've been doing this for the last 5 years and we didn't know about you. Sipho is best friends with Miss Universe because she stalked her on Twitter. They then ended up communicating using the one hashtag, We Are Dying Here. A little bit of elbow grease and hard work. Yeah. It's exactly that story. And it happened this year.
There's another question.
Good evening. My name is Busani, producer DJ. I want to ask a question due to something that is happening to me right now. A cousin of my friend said he wanted to manage me, so I agreed to it. So I want to ask you, does managers ask a fee to manage a person?
So there are many different structures to how a manager can get paid. One, I want you all to understand that we're all here to work. No one is doing anyone a favor, right? So the same way when you want to go and perform and get paid, your manager wants to put in work and get paid. There are certain things that are very hard to quantify and say, this costs 2 Rand 50, this costs 5 Rand, this costs 10 Rand. Things like putting together these one pages, these documents. Umuntu must sit and type and write and think English. You know, thinking about English is hard. Describe said artist, what started out, age, whatever. Think about writing an obituary and how hard that is. So now you've got to actually make a person sound amazing that people don't know. That's time. The computer that they had to do this on, they had to pay for it with money. The internet that they had to use, they had to pay for it with money. The airtime that a person is using to make phone calls, hey, please book my guy. Hey, my guy is so good. The petrol to come and see you in studio and sit with you. It's going in. Then after that, we are hungry. Your manager is buying a quota. Okay, segadliwa. Hey, now you're thirsty. Now we must buy a quart. Segapuzwa. Do you understand? All of these things add up. So when a manager asks for you to pay them a retainer, it's so that they can fund all of these operations until such time that we are making money. But again, it goes back to the agreement. So there are different types of agreements. Some people say, I get paid off of, or I'll pay you off of commission. But in my world, my commission then becomes a higher percentage because I'm taking risk with you. So I'm investing, you're investing, so I'm going to take a higher percentage. Other structures, you can have a retainer. So if you have a retainer, I'm taking a lower percentage because when as the artist, you're absorbing most of the risk. You're paying upfront and then we have to work to make it back. So in my agency, we have 2 contracts. One contract with the retainer and it offers you graphic services, social media management, all of the plugging. We do a profile for you every single month because your social media stats change every single month. In the agency, I'm paying a graphic designer, I'm paying a talent manager, booking manager, I'm paying all of these people. So your retainer is covering those services. Plus then we take a percentage. And the percentage structure for us goes, 15% if we bring the deal, if we are the first point of contact, 10% if you brought it. So if someone calls you as the artist and then you pass it on to us to manage, that's what we do. Here's my lawyer, she's sitting right here, she can validate everything I'm saying because she drew up the contracts. Then the other one is no retainer, but we take a higher percentage. And still the percentage is still first point of contact, if it's me or if it's you. And then there's the fact that we take different percentages off of different things. So if it's performances, different percentage structure. If it's a brand deal, different percentage structure. An appearance. So you must also understand what you guys are selling. Back to the product. What is the product? And once you've determined that, as the manager or as the artist, you're able to say, okay, no, Mina, I'm a producer, I'm a beat maker, so I sit in my bedroom alone making these beats at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to take all the money by myself. When a manager, you have nothing to do with that. But gigs, you're the one going out and getting them, so you can eat off of that. But you must have an agreement. Does that make sense?
And have what's called a sunset clause. Because Thuli's just put these wonderful deals together for me, but 6 months later we have a fight. And we now hate each other. But the one deal is only going to happen in 2 years' time and it's worth R1 million. She wants her slice of the action because she put that deal together. So remember that as well when you're signing up the management. The deal that happens today might only see reality a year or 18 months down the line, particularly with sponsorships and clothing and things like that and everything else. But have the paperwork, have an email trail, because an email trail, there is correspondence, there's willing buyer, willing seller, there's an opportunity to do a deal. Take your WhatsApp and transfer them to the email. Email the email back to yourself. So you send it to Martin Myers, but you send the email back to yourself as well so you can see and file it. Develop a good filing system. Back up your laptop. Because if you have a hit, that's when people come running and you see friends that arrive that you've never seen before because there's money involved and everybody is after money. This is a business. We cannot stress it more.
But you starting out in the game, I think my advice to you would be that for now, work together for the common goal, right? But when you start making money, go back to the agreement and slowly start paying each other. I think that's the best thing.
Our agreement is ending at this November. First
Ending or starting?
It's ending. It started last year, December.
Yeah.
So it's ending this. But he has not given me the promise that he said he would give me, like gigs and so on.
But with that promise, is there agreement? Is there something in writing?
Yes.
Is there?
Yes.
Okay, then what is the clause about renewal?
It's 1 December.
If you want to.
Oh,
yeah, if I want to renew it, I must renew it on 1 December.
So remember that you are the client. At the end of the day, as the client, you can decide if you want to renew with your supplier or not. If you don't enjoy the arrangement, then you discontinue it. And if you do want to fix it, maybe they are a good person and he knows how to work. There's just things that need to be fixed and adjusted. You can always adjust them. That's the nice thing about agreements. Isn't it? You can adjust as long as you both agree to the adjustment and it is written and like noted and there's a paper trail for it. Because what an agreement does is just like in a marriage. The marriage contract says, if this happens, this happens. If this happens, this happens. Because when emotions are high and money is involved, segaliwa, and it's awkward. So just as long as you have that agreement, you're cool.
But also look back, like think about the past year that you guys have worked together and see what were his strong points and what are his weak points and see how maybe the weak points, how you can actually fix that. That's if you want to continue working with that person. Because you'll just find that maybe he didn't know a certain thing or he was maybe lazy to go find information about 1, 2, 3 and that obviously has given him his shortcomings. But sometimes if you just collaborate together, because it's a marriage, you can't expect everything from him. You can't expect him to do everything. You need to also contribute, you know? You also need to assist here and there because honestly and truly speaking, a manager can't do it all. We can do it all, but we can't do it all, you know? There's certain things that we don't know that you may know, you know? You might know the promoter. You can speak to him, chat to him and say, okay, you know what? If it's only my manager. The manager doesn't know that guy, but because you know that guy, you're building a relationship and, you know, you're also building the manager's confidence because, you know, you've given him that opportunity. So don't always expect, contribute also. It's a collaboration, it's a marriage.
Yeah.
Sit down. The two of you get together and exactly what Thuli said, write down the points that you liked about your manager and the points you want fixed up. Take emotion out of the whole thing. And if you're scared about losing your rag and shouting and screaming, take a friend with you to sit and listen. Go to a neutral place and sit down, a coffee shop, spend 20 Rand on a coffee, or come here and sit here and say we want to meet and sort it out. Because there's also another saying, better the devil you know than you don't know. Because you're going to leave your manager because you're upset with him. Now where are you going to find someone? Sit and talk. Pick up the telephone. Because what we do, we start off at the very beginning talking about, it's about working together as a team. You need him and he needs you. But you're paying him. You're the artist. But sit down and have a conversation.
My name is Jinger. So like I was going to ask, as a starting up and coming artist with the manager, and you're still studying, there is no funds, there is nothing. With like what you were saying, sir, in working on the product, there's studio sessions that have to be attended, there's beats that have to be bought, there's music videos to be done. How do you all go around with the monies? Like who does what? And
so you're starting out and you're worried about the money. You've got a manager. Can I give a solution to that problem? And then we can open. Why don't you go 50-50? For every 100 Rand you put in, your manager must also put 100 Rand in. And whatever you make and create in that process, you go on an equal share for a certain time period. For song Martin Myers, we're working on song Martin Myers. The studio's costing 100 Rand, 50 Rand, 50 Rand. This is costing, and you split everything and you log it all down and you recoup. That means get the money back for those expenses first. Worry about the video later. You've got to get airplay and you've got to get it to managers and people to listen to, and you've got to get it to radio. That's what you need to do. But you haven't got funds at the moment, so why don't you just split it? That will solve your problem initially while you start.
And I think the thing of hustling, right? A lot of the biggest artists in the hip hop world, at least, all hustled together. Like Jay-Z and Damon Dash were hustling together, but Jay-Z is the artist. Questa and Nota and Leroy have been hustling together, but whatever I find, I put into, let's do this thing. But they log everything and say, okay, split ownership. It's just like any project that you're going to do together. What we need to pay for, let's go out and find the money. If I need to work at a bar for 12 hours, okay, cool, fana, I'm hustling, I'll get 100 Rand tomorrow, sharp. Omunye, I'm going to ask my grandfather, mhlambe angboleke 100 Rand. Omunye, I'll go to the bank for a loan. But know that everybody that you're working with is going to put their skin in the game, and if they put money in, they must get money out. So when, as the artist, don't look at these people as your help, because if they're putting in money, you must be ready that when this thing pops, they're sharing the money with you. And that goes for any kind of business relationship. It doesn't have to just be about music. Whatever we do as partners, we all put in and we get out. So be ready for that, Uti. When your manager is the one feeding you, like I made that whole example, remember them when the money comes. And don't be that guy that now gets a record deal and goes and signs and forgets about his boys who were there, putting in money, putting in time, putting in resources, hustling your mother's car, doing this, stealing that, what. And now you've forgotten them because you've made it in the big time. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but also roll with people that are going to go as hard as you. Don't go for the guy who's always there but has nothing to offer. Not even a lyric. So if you're going to choose your circle right, and choose people that are going to make things work and not be there just for the cool, because now all the girls like you because you're popping, because you have a music video on channel. Oh, now your niggas want to be there, be present, but they're not adding or contributing anything. So whatever, firstly, choose your circle, but once you've chosen that circle, if anyone puts anything in, you're all eating.
All right, I just want to find out what are you guys' habits to money, all right? And how do you ensure, your business is sustained for a long time?
I think that speaks to the fundamentals of business, how to run a business.
I've got a lawyer on speed dial. I've got an accountant on speed dial. I've got a publicist on speed dial. I've got a photographer on speed dial. And I defer to them continually as a grouping. I've got a business account, Triple M Entertainment. It's VAT registered. I've got my own personal account, Martin Myers. I bank at Nedbank. You pay Triple M Entertainment, that money comes in. Sipho's account is at Nedbank. It's an instantaneous transfer to him. It's an instantaneous transfer to Sipho Kazi Jonas. It's an instantaneous transfer to RJ Benjamin, because I'm responsible for their money. Because bear in mind, when you sign the contract as a manager or an agent, something goes wrong, they're coming after me, not the artist. That's why I always wait. Get the money in and then I disperse the money. But you have to have a team around you. To give you an idea, a decent lawyer is 800 Rand an hour. So when you're gigging and doing a gig and someone says to you, oh, we're going to pay you 2,000 Rand for the hour, take it. Because 2,000 Rands in a month suddenly becomes 8,000 Rand. We were doing talks around the country and we worked in a little place called Beaufort West. There was one kid, he was about so high. The DJs were charging 500 Rand a night and he was managing 10 of them and he was taking 10%. I suddenly started doing the sums for these kids in this little town of Beaufort West. He was making 8,500 Rand of his 10% commission a month. 50 Rand here, 50 Rand there, and he was running around in a little one-horse town. He had a business account, he had a bank account, and he asked questions, and that's all you have to do. Get your account, get your tax paperwork up and running. I applied for some relief with the government. I couldn't get it because my tax clearance certificate wasn't ready. For the one conference that I run, it took me 9 months to get a tax clearance certificate. You have to zip your bottom lip and you have to go and stand in a corner and you have to go and wait and you have to go and get it. If you're applying to play Kirstenbosch or all these places when you become a bigger artist, or even if you want to open and play support and go and ask to play support, which you can do, you have to have your tax clearance certificates and everything else because that's what the government's demanding. So be aware of that paperwork.
Yeah, basically.
It's vital.
CIPC, SARS, and the bank, and the legal aid, and an accountant. 5 crucial institutions.
You can keep your income and expenses, work it out.
Oh yes, sorry. And the money in your business account is not your personal account, né? It's not your money, it's the business's money. So a big key thing from a money habit perspective, start paying yourself a regular amount, a salary. So just because 100,000 came in today and then another 50,000 is coming next week, another 100,000 is coming in 5 weeks, I can pay myself 80,000. No, salary and project, because you don't know when COVID is going to hit you and all of a sudden this 100,000 Rand salary of yours is not sustainable anymore. So
20% away as savings.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, because I usually hear a lot of artists saying there's no such thing as bad publicity. So I'd like to find out from you, with the experience that you have you ever benefited from bad publicity? And also I'd like to find out from you guys, how do you marry the artist's vision and the vision that you have as a manager in terms of getting him or her to get the point? And also, I wanted to find out, how do you deal with the psychology of an artist, since you're saying they always have to always be at their best? So on a bad day where maybe they're having trouble at home or whatever that's personal, that's affecting them, how do you get to them into that mind state where they can be their best? And also, the last question is, do you guys ever feel you're focusing more on your artists to an extent where you neglect your own dreams? Do you guys have your own personal dreams as managers, or your dream is just seeing your artists being the greatest in the world?
Shoot, that's the whole masterclass.
Yeah.
I'll take the psychology question.
I wanted to take the psychology.
I'll take bad publicity. I'll start with it actually. So I don't know if you guys know, but A-Reece had a there was a post. Somebody posted, or rather uploaded, a whole album, A-Reece on what is it? It was on iTunes or something like that, right? For us, it's bad publicity because it is his music, but it's not us who uploaded it, meaning we're actually losing the money that we're supposed to get from the streams for that music, despite the fact that that music is already on SoundCloud, right? So obviously the backlash is because there's another artist that thought that we were trying to attack him based on the fact that the name of the album was similar to the name of his album, right? But what we found is that by firstly releasing a press statement to say that we are actually not involved with this thing, it's got nothing to do with us, helped us because the next day, A-Reece's albums that he had were maybe actually the most streamed music the next day, because we handled the bad publicity with composure, right? Because if you handle it, if you have an outbreak and you go wild and you become, crazy, people might, take it in a rude way. How you react to bad publicity may actually benefit you, from streams, followers. You can actually get publicity from actual publications where they want to now interview about the situation, and you have an opportunity in that moment to spin it and talk about yourself in a positive manner. Those are like the three things. So you get your streams. You can get an opportunity to speak to publications, and the fact that you spend it to focus on yourself takes you to the next level.
I just want to come with bad publicity, give you an example. When, I think it was, I speak under correction, when Mahlasela passed away, the football player Mark Fish, he put a picture up of Hotstix next to himself and said, I'd passed away or whatever. And someone phoned me, and I've got Sipho's Twitter account, and said, look at this. So I phoned Sipo, I said, what must I do? So we said, no. We just wrote there, Mark, I'm still alive. Mark Fish challenge. And we left it, and it ran for weeks. There was the Mark Fish, and we left it. Don't disrespect and shout at the guy, it was a mistake. I always look at bad publicity. If no one got harmed, no one got hurt, no one got injured, and be kind to one another, because there's so many crises happening. I lost a colleague of a colleague the other day. The gentleman committed suicide. That's real life. We're here to uplift, make people happy, bring joy to the world, because that's what music does. And I think that's what drives me. I want to see people happy. I love what I do, and that's what drives me to answer your question. And then I've done a lot of reading, and just be the best that I can, and be respectful to my wife and to my daughter, that they turn around and say, hey Dad, you did something. Because it's family first at the end of the day. And that for me is the most important. You get 1,000,001 hangers on. Keep your circle tight, work with people that you love and trust, that if you phone at 1 o'clock in the morning and SH1T has hit the fan, they'll come running to help you. Those are the people that you want in the room beside you.
Thank you so much for watching. This has been the first ever live AMPD Masterclass brought to you by Old Mutual right here on Podcast with MacG. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot. And if you got any questions, make sure you hashtag AMPD Studios, AMPD Masterclass, all over social media. We'll be glad to answer your questions. Make sure you check out AMPD on YouTube as well. There's some dope content. Like I said, there's interviews from Ricky Rick, DJ Fresh, Prince KB, and a whole lot more. And yeah, I'm MacG, and I'm out here. This has been great. Boom.
Music has changed. How it makes us feel never will. The time is now to visit ampstudios.co.za.
As you build your career in music, as you build your brand, make sure you diversify. A lot of artists who are struggling financially right now are those who don't have alternatives. Create multiple streams of income. As an artist, your brand can actually open doors for you. You can be a social media influencer, you can be a brand ambassador. Capitalize on your brand. Make sure you have multiple streams of income. That is what you need. Artists with a strong online presence are in a better position to make money even during the pandemic, simply because they had a proper plan in place. So you cannot achieve that unless you partner with a financial advisor. You cannot be relying on concerts. If no concerts, no bag. For you to secure your bag, make sure you multiply your streams of income.
Music has changed. How it makes us feel never will. The time is now to visit ampstudios.co.za.